Zara Coleman, a fearless ex-Navy SEAL taking on a corrupt police force in Crestwood. With her loyal German shepherds and a team of allies, Zara uncovers a web of corruption led by a vengeful ex-CIA agent. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the small town of Crestwood in shades of orange and gold. Zara Coleman walked along the cracked sidewalk of Maple Street, her two German shepherds, Titan and Shadow, striding beside her, their ears perked up, alert to every sound. Zara, a former Navy SEAL, moved with a quiet confidence. Her dark skin glistened with a light sweat from the warm evening air. She wore a simple tank top and jeans, her braided hair tied back in a neat bun. At 32, she was strong, sharp, and always ready for trouble, though she hoped it wouldn't find her today. Titan let out a low growl, his eyes fixed on something ahead. Shadow tensed, her muscles rippling under her sleek black and tan coat. Zara's hand tightened on their leashes. "Easy, boys," she whispered, her voice calm but firm. She followed their gaze and saw two police officers leaning against a patrol car parked across the street. Officer Vance, tall and wiry with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes, nudged his partner, Officer Kessler, a stocky man with a buzz cut and a scowl. Well, look who's out walking her mutts," Vance called, his voice dripping with mockery. He stepped onto the sidewalk, blocking Zara's path. Kessler followed, his hand resting on the holster at his hip. Zara stopped, her eyes narrowing. "Just taking my dogs for a walk, officers. No need for trouble." Kessler chuckled, a harsh sound. "Trouble? You're the one with those beasts. They look like they could rip someone's throat out." "They're trained better than most people," Zara said, her tone steady. "Unlike some, they don't bite unless I tell them to." Vance's smirk faded. He stepped closer, too close stout, his breath smelling of stale coffee. "You got a smart mouth, Coleman. Maybe you need a lesson in respect." Zara's heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. She'd faced worse than these two in her years as a SEAL. Enemy fire, covert missions, life-or-death stakes. But this wasn't a battlefield. This was her hometown, and these men wore badges. Still, something about Vance's cold eyes sent a chill down her spine. "Step aside," Zara said, her voice low but commanding. "We're just passing through." Kessler laughed again, louder this time. "Hear that, Vance? She thinks she's in charge." He reached out as if to grab Titan's leash. Big mistake. Titan lunged forward, snapping his jaws inches from Kessler's hand. The officer stumbled back, cursing. Shadow growled, her hackles raised. Zara tightened her grip, pulling them back. "I said, easy," she told her dogs, then looked at the officers. "Don't touch them. You won't like what happens next." Vance's face twisted with anger. "You threatening us, Coleman? That's a bad move." He stepped forward, his hand brushing his baton. The street was quiet, too quiet. A few passersby, an old man walking his dog, a teenage girl on her phone, hurried away, sensing trouble. Zara's mind raced. She could take these two if it came to it. Her training had made her lethal with or without weapons. But she didn't want to fight, not here, not with badges involved. "I'm not threatening anyone," she said. "Just want to go home." "Then maybe you should learn your place," Vance hissed. He nodded to Kessler, who pulled out a notepad, scribbling something. "We're writing you up. Unleashed dogs, public disturbance. You're lucky we don't haul you in." "My dogs are leashed," Zara said, holding up the straps for emphasis. "And I'm not disturbing anyone. You're the ones making a scene." Vance's eyes darkened. "You're going to regret talking back." He stepped even closer, his voice a low growl. "I know who you are, Coleman. Ex-SEAL, think you're tough. But you're nothing here." Zara's jaw tightened. She noticed the way Vance's hand twitched, like he was itching for a reason to escalate. Kessler circled to her left, cutting off her path. The dogs sensed it too, their growls growing louder. Zara's training kicked in. Assess, adapt, act. She scanned the street. No cameras, no witnesses left. Just her dogs, and two cops looking for a fight. "Last chance," she said, her voice like steel. "Let us pass." Vance laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Or what? Your dog's gonna save you?" Before Zara could respond, a voice cut through the tension. "Everything okay here?" It was Mrs. Clara, the elderly owner of the corner bookstore, stepping out of her shop. Her gray hair was pulled back, and her sharp eyes took in the scene. She held a broom like a weapon, her small frame radiating defiance. Vance turned, his smirk returning. "Just doing our job, ma'am. Go back inside." Clara didn't budge. "Looks like you're hassling a woman and her dogs for no reason. I know Zara. She's good people." "You boys move along now." Kessler snorted, but Vance hesitated. Clara's shop was a town staple, and she had influence. This ain't over, Coleman, Vance muttered, stepping back. He jerked his head at Kessler, and they retreated to their car, slamming the doors. Zara exhaled, her heart still pounding. Thanks, Clara, she said softly. Clara waved a hand. Those two are trouble. Always have been. You watch your back, Zara. As the patrol car sped off, Zara knelt beside Titan and Shadow, stroking their fur. Good boys, she whispered, but her mind was racing. Vance's words, I know who you are, echoed in her head. This wasn't just a random stop. Something deeper was at play, something dangerous. And Zara Coleman wasn't one to back down from danger. She stood, her dogs at her side, and started walking home. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows. Whatever Vance and Kessler were up to, Zara would find out. And when she did, they'd regret crossing her. Zara's boots echoed on the wooden porch as she stepped into her small, cozy house on the edge of Crestwood. Titan and Shadow padded behind her, their nails clicking softly on the floor. The living room smelled of cedar and coffee, a safe haven after the tense encounter with officers Vance and Kessler. But Zara's mind was far from calm. Vance's words, I know who you are, kept looping in her head like a warning bell she couldn't silence. She unclipped the dogs, leashes, and filled their water bowls. Titan lapped eagerly, while Shadow sat, eyes fixed on Zara as if sensing her unease. You're too smart for your own good, Zara muttered, scratching Shadow's ears. She grabbed her phone and dialed her sister, Nia, who answered on the second ring. Zara? You okay? Nia's voice was sharp, laced with worry. At 28, Nia was 4 years younger than Zara, but her tech skills made her a force to be reckoned with. She worked freelance as a cybersecurity consultant, her fingers always dancing across keyboards, uncovering secrets others wanted buried. I'm fine, Zara said, pacing the kitchen. But I just had a run-in with 2 cops, Vance and Kessler. They tried to rattle me on Maple Street. Something's off, Nia. They knew me too well. Nia's tone hardened. Vance? As in Officer Derek Vance? That guy's bad news. I've heard whispers about him shaking down locals, but no one's got proof. What happened? Zara recounted the incident, her voice steady but tight. They wanted a fight. If Clara from the bookstore hadn't shown up, it could have gone bad. Real bad. Clara's a legend, Nia said, a smile in her voice. But this sounds personal. You think it's tied to your SEAL days? Zara paused, staring out the kitchen window at the dark backyard. Her time in the Navy SEALs was a blur of covert missions, classified ops, and faces she'd rather forget. Maybe, she said. Vance looked at me like he had a score to settle. I need to know who he is. I'm on it, Nia said. Give me a few hours. I'll dig into his records, off the books, of course. You stay safe, Zara. Keep those dogs close. Always, Zara said, hanging up. She sank onto the couch, her hand resting on Titan's head. The dogs curled up beside her, their warmth grounding her racing thoughts. But sleep felt miles away. She needed answers, and she needed them fast. The next morning, Zara headed to the local diner, a greasy spoon called Rosie's, where the coffee was strong and the gossip was stronger. She slid into a booth, Titan and Shadow lying at her feet. The waitress, a cheerful woman named Rosie with a bright red apron, poured Zara a mug of coffee. Heard you had some trouble last night, Rosie said, her eyes kind but curious. Word travels fast, Zara said, sipping the coffee. Just a misunderstanding with some cops. Rosie leaned in, lowering her voice. Those two, Vance and Kessler? They've been throwing their weight around for months. Folks are scared to talk. You watch yourself, Zara. Before Zara could respond, the diner's door jingled, and a man walked in. He was tall, with a lean build and sharp brown eyes. His badge gleamed on his belt, Detective Marcus Hale. Zara had seen him around town, always quiet, always watching. He nodded at her and took a seat at the counter. Rosie whispered, That's Marcus. Good cop, one of the few. If you need help, he's your guy. Zara's instincts told her to trust Rosie's word, but she wasn't ready to bring anyone else into this. Not yet. She finished her coffee, left a tip, and headed out with her dogs. The morning air was crisp, but the weight of last night's encounter clung to her like damp clothes. Back home, Nia called with news. Zara, you're not going to believe this, she said, her voice crackling with excitement. I hacked into some restricted databases, don't ask how, and found dirt on Vance. His real name's not even Vance. It's Derek Vinton, ex-CIA. He got kicked out 5 years ago after a botched op in Kabul. Word is he blames a SEAL team for exposing his screw-up. Zara, you were on that team, weren't you? Zara's blood ran cold. Kabul, the mission that haunted her. A covert op gone wrong, a traitor in their midst. She'd uncovered evidence of a double agent, but she never knew who it was. Could it have been Vance? What else did you find? She asked, her voice tight. He's been in Crestwood for 2 years, building a network of dirty cops, Nia said. Kessler's his muscle, but Vance is the brains. They're running something big, extortion, maybe drugs. I'm still digging. Zara's grip tightened on the phone. Keep digging, Nia, but be careful. If he's ex-CIA, he's dangerous. Danger's my middle name, Nia said, trying to lighten the mood. But Zara could hear the worry in her sister's voice. As she hung up, Zara looked at Titan and Shadow, their eyes locked on her. She could feel the storm coming. Vance wasn't just a corrupt cop. He was a ghost from her past, and he wanted revenge. But Zara Coleman didn't run from fights. She'd faced worse odds and won. This time, she'd need more than her dogs and her fists. She'd need a plan. That afternoon, she drove to the edge of town, where an old friend lived. Jasper, a retired SEAL who'd trained her years ago. His cabin was tucked in the woods, surrounded by pines. Jasper, grizzled and gray at 50, greeted her with a bear hug. "Trouble's found you again, hasn't it?" he said, eyeing her dogs. "Always does," Zara said, forcing a smile. She told him everything. Vance, Kessler, the Kabul connection. Jasper's face darkened. "Vance sounds like bad news," he said. "You need backup, Zara. I've got some old contacts who can help. And I know a guy in town, Marcus Hale. He's a detective, clean as they come." Zara nodded, remembering Rosie's words. Maybe it was time to trust someone else. But first, she needed to know what Vance was planning, and she'd do whatever it took to find out. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Jasper's cabin, where Zara sat on a creaky wooden chair, sipping water from a mason jar. Titan and Shadow lay sprawled on the porch, their ears twitching at the rustle of leaves in the pine-scented breeze. Jasper leaned against the railing, his weathered face etched with concern. "You're poking a hornet's nest, Zara," he said, his gravelly voice low. "Vance isn't just a dirty cop. Ex-CIA? He's got skills, connections, and a grudge. You need to move smart." Zara nodded, her jaw tight. "I know, but he came for me, Jasper. I'm not hiding." Her mind flashed to Kabul, gunfire, betrayal, the SEAL team barely escaping. She'd exposed a traitor, but the details were buried in classified files. If Vance was that traitor, he'd been waiting years to strike back. Jasper rubbed his gray beard. "I'll call in a favor. Old buddy of mine, Sam Torres, works private security now. He's got access to CIA records. Off the grid. Might confirm what Nia found." "Thanks, Jasper," Zara said, standing. She glanced at her dogs. "Let's go, boys." Titan and Shadow sprang up, ready to move. As she drove back to Crestwood, her phone buzzed. It was Nia. "Zara, you sitting down?" Nia's voice was tense, almost breathless. "I cracked into the police department's server. Vance and Kessler are running a racket, extorting local businesses, skimming drug busts. But it's bigger than that. There's an encrypted file labeled Kabul Protocol. It's got Vance's digital fingerprints all over it." Zara's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "Kabul Protocol? Can you open it?" "Not yet," Nia said. "It's locked tight. I need physical access to their system, probably a hard drive in the precinct. But Zara, this is dangerous. If Vance catches wind of this..." "He won't," Zara cut in, her voice sharp. "Keep working. I'm heading to Rosie's. Might catch Marcus Hale there." She hung up, her pulse racing. The pieces were coming together, but the puzzle was bigger than she'd thought. At Rosie's diner, the air smelled of burgers and pie. Zara slid into her usual booth, Titan and Shadow settling under the table. The place was busy, locals chatting over coffee. Rosie waved from behind the counter, but Zara's eyes locked on Marcus Hale, sitting alone with a newspaper. She walked over, her boots tapping the checkered floor. "Detective Hale?" she said, keeping her voice low. "Got a minute?" Marcus looked up, his brown eyes sharp but wary. "Zara Coleman. Heard you had trouble with Vance and Kessler. What's this about?" His tone was calm, but his hand paused on his coffee mug like he was sizing her up. Zara sat across from him. "Those two aren't just bad cops. They're running a racket, and Vance has a past. CIA, kicked out for a botched op. I think he's targeting me for something I did as a SEAL." Marcus leaned back, his face unreadable. "That's a heavy accusation. You got proof?" "Not yet," Zara admitted, "but I'm working on it. I need someone inside the department, someone clean." Marcus sipped his coffee, his eyes never leaving hers. You're asking a lot. Vance has friends high up, but I've been watching him too. Strange reports, missing evidence. If you're right, we need hard evidence. Paper trail, footage, something solid. Zara nodded. My sister's working on that, but I need to know if you're in. Before Marcus could answer, the diner's door swung open. Kessler stormed in, his buzz cut gleaming under the fluorescent lights. His eyes locked on Zara, and a smirk spread across his face. Well, look who's cozying up to the good detective, he said, loud enough for heads to turn. Careful, Hale. She's trouble. Marcus stood, his voice low but firm. Move along, Kessler. Nobody's looking for a scene. Kessler laughed, but his eyes were cold. Just passing through. But you, Coleman, watch your step. Vance doesn't like loose ends. He sauntered out, leaving a chill in the air. Zara's fists clenched under the table. Titan growled softly, sensing her tension. Marcus sat back down, his expression grim. That's the kind of guy we're dealing with, he said. I'm in, Zara. But we do this my way, by the book, as much as we can. Deal, Zara said, though she knew by the book might not be enough. As she left the diner, her phone buzzed again. It was a text from Nia. Found a lead on Kabul protocol. Meet me tonight. Bring the dogs. That night, Zara drove to Nia's apartment, a small loft above a laundromat. Nia was at her desk, surrounded by monitors glowing with code. Her short curls bounced as she turned to Zara. Okay, sis, listen up, Nia said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. The Kabul protocol file mentions a cover-up. Vance was selling intel to a warlord. Your SEAL team busted him, but the CIA buried it to avoid a scandal. Now he's using Crestwood's police force to rebuild his empire. Zara's stomach twisted. He's after me because I blew the whistle. Exactly, Nia said. But that file, it's on a secure server at the precinct. We need to get inside. Zara looked at Titan and Shadow, their eyes gleaming in the dim light. Then we need a plan, she said, and fast. As Nia nodded, a loud thud came from downstairs. The dog's ears shot up, and Zara's hand went to the knife strapped to her ankle. Someone was outside, and they weren't being quiet about it. The game was on, and Zara was ready to play. The thud outside Nia's apartment sent a jolt through Zara. She crouched low, her hand on the knife at her ankle. Titan and Shadow stood rigid, their growls vibrating in the dim light of the loft. Nia froze at her desk, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Zara, what was that? She whispered, her eyes wide. Stay here, Zara said, her voice a quiet command. She crept to the window, peering through the blinds. The alley below was dark, but a shadow moved near the dumpster, a figure too quick to make out. Titan's hackles rose, and Shadow's ears pinned back. Someone's watching, Zara muttered. Nia, lock the door. Nia scrambled to bolt the door, her hands shaking. You think it's Vance? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Or Kessler, Zara said. Maybe both. She straightened, her mind racing. The thud could have been a warning or a mistake. Either way, Vance was closing in. She turned to Nia. We need to move faster. Tell me about that server. Nia nodded, pulling up a schematic on her monitor. The precinct's got a secure server room in the basement. That's where the Kabul protocol file is. It's guarded, but I can hack the cameras to loop footage. Problem is, you'll need to get inside, plug in a drive to bypass the firewall and download the data. Zara's eyes narrowed. How much time? 10 minutes tops, Nia said. Any longer and the system flags it. But Zara, if they catch you... They won't, Zara said, her tone ironclad. She'd infiltrated worse places, enemy compounds, guarded outposts. A small-town precinct was child's play. But Vance wasn't just any small-town cop. He was ex-CIA, and that made him unpredictable. A sharp bark from Titan snapped her back. The dogs were staring at the door, their bodies tense. Zara motioned for Nia to stay quiet and crept to the peephole. The hallway was empty, but a faint scrape echoed, like boots on the stairs. Whoever was out there was gone, but they'd been close, too close. We need backup, Zara said, turning to Nia. I'm calling Marcus Hale and Jasper's friend, Sam Torres. We do this right, or we don't do it at all. By midnight, Zara, Nia, Marcus, and Sam sat around Jasper's kitchen table, the cabin lit by a single lamp. Sam was a wiry man in his 40s, with a shaved head and a scar across his cheek. His private security work had kept him sharp, and his eyes glinted with the same intensity Zara remembered from her SEAL days. Marcus sat across from him, his detective badge tucked away, his face set in a grim line. Here's the deal, Zara said, spreading a map of the precinct on the table. Nia loops the cameras. I go in through the back entrance, delivery dock, less guarded. Sam, you're my lookout. Marcus, you cover us from the inside. Make sure no one gets suspicious. Marcus frowned. I'm risking my badge here, Zara. If this goes south, I'm done. Then we make sure it doesn't, Zara said. That file ties Vance to Kabul and to the corruption here. We get it, we expose him, and this town gets a chance to heal. Sam leaned forward, his voice low. I checked my contacts. Vance was selling intel to a warlord in Kabul. Got caught when your team raided his safe house. He lost everything, career, reputation. He's been rebuilding here, using the police as his personal army. That file? It's his insurance policy. Names, dates, payoffs. If we get it, he's finished. Nia tapped her laptop. I've got the hack ready, but there's a guard rotation at 2 a.m. That's your window, Zara. 10 minutes, in and out. Zara nodded, her eyes on the map. Titan and Shadow come with me. They'll sense trouble before we do. Jasper, who'd been quiet, spoke up. You're walking into a lion's den, Zara. Vance knows you're sniffing around. That noise at Nia's? That was him sending a message. I got his message, Zara said, her voice cold. Now he's going to get mine. The next night, Zara crouched in the shadows behind the precinct, her black hoodie blending with the darkness. Titan and Shadow flanked her, their eyes glowing faintly. Nia's voice crackled through an earpiece. Cameras looped. You're clear. Go. Zara slipped through the delivery dock, the dogs silent as ghosts. The precinct was quiet, but the air felt heavy like a storm about to break. She found the server room door, swiped a stolen keycard, courtesy of Marcus, and stepped inside. The hum of machines filled the air, rows of blinking lights casting eerie shadows. She plugged Nia's drive into the server, watching the download bar creep forward. How's it looking, Nia? She whispered. Almost there, Nia replied. 8 minutes left. A low growl from Shadow made Zara freeze. Footsteps echoed down the hall. Heavy, deliberate. Someone was coming. She crouched behind a server rack, her hand on her knife. Titan's ears twitched, his body coiled like a spring. The door creaked open, and a flashlight beam swept the room. I know you're in here, Coleman, a voice hissed. It was Vance, his tone sharp with malice. You should have stayed out of my business. Zara's heart pounded, but her training took over. She signaled the dogs to stay low. The download bar ticked up, 70%, 75%. She needed time, and Vance was out of it. This was her moment, and she wasn't backing down. Zara held her breath, crouched behind the server rack, the hum of machines masking her racing heartbeat. Titan and Shadow stayed low, their eyes locked on the doorway where Officer Vance stood, his flashlight slicing through the dim server room. The download bar on Nia's drive glowed at 85%, inching toward completion. Zara's fingers tightened around her knife. She needed 3 more minutes. Vance's voice cut through the silence, cold and venomous. You can't hide forever, Coleman. You're in way over your head. Zara signaled the dogs to stay put, her mind racing. She'd faced ambushes before, deserts, jungles, war zones, but this was different. This was personal. Vance wasn't just a corrupt cop. He was a ghost from her past, and he wanted blood. The flashlight beam swept closer, grazing the edge of the rack. Zara shifted silently, her SEAL training kicking in. Stay calm, stay sharp, strike first. Nia, she whispered into her earpiece, barely audible. How long? 2 minutes, Nia's voice crackled back, tense. Sam's outside, says the coast is clear. But Zara, if Vance is there? Handle it, Zara cut in, her eyes on the download, 90%. She could hear Vance's boots scuffing the floor, slow and deliberate. He was hunting her, savoring the moment. But Zara wasn't prey. A low growl rumbled from Titan. Vance froze, his flashlight snapping toward the sound. Those damn dogs, he muttered. Call them off, Coleman, or I shoot. Zara's jaw clenched. She stood slowly, stepping into the beam of light, her hands raised but her knife still gripped tight. Leave my dogs out of this, Vance, she said, her voice steady. This is between you and me. Vance smirked, his face half-shadowed, his gun now drawn. You ruined me in Kabul, Coleman. That raid? My deal with the warlord was perfect until you and your team stuck your noses in. I lost everything. Now it's your turn. The download hit 95%. Zara needed to stall. You sold out your country, she said, stepping closer, her eyes locked on his. You betrayed everyone. Not my fault you got caught. Vance's smirk vanished. You think you're a hero? You're nothing. He raised his gun, but Zara was faster. She dove to the side as Titan and Shadow sprang forward, their training flawless. Titan's jaws clamped onto Vance's arm, forcing the gun to clatter to the floor. Shadow pinned him down, snarling inches from his face. Vance screamed, thrashing under the dog's weight. Call them off! Call them off! Zara grabbed the drive as the download hit 100%. Titan, Shadow, back, she commanded. The dogs released Vance, retreating to her side, still growling. She pocketed the drive and picked up Vance's gun, pointing it at him. You're done, Vance. This ends now. But before she could move, the door burst open. Kessler charged in, his own gun raised. Drop it, Coleman, he bellowed. Zara dove behind the rack as a shot rang out, sparking off the metal. The dogs barked, ready to lunge, but Zara held them back. She couldn't risk them getting hurt. Nia, now! Zara hissed into her earpiece. The lights in the room flickered, then died, Nia's hack cutting the power. In the darkness, Zara moved like a shadow, her training guiding her. She tackled Kessler, her knife pressing against his throat. Don't move, she growled. Kessler froze, his breath ragged. You're dead, Coleman, he spat, but his voice shook. Zara zip-tied his hands, then turned to Vance, who was scrambling for his gun. She kicked it away, her boot pinning his chest. Stay down, she said, her voice ice-cold. She secured him with another zip-tie, her heart pounding but her hands steady. Sam, get in here, she said into her earpiece. Moments later, Sam Torres burst through the door, his flashlight sweeping the room. Nice work, he said, seeing Vance and Kessler bound on the floor. Let's move. Zara, Sam, and the dog slipped out through the delivery dock, the night air cool against her skin. Back at Nia's loft, Zara handed her the drive. Nia's fingers flew over the keyboard, her eyes wide as she opened the Kabul protocol file. Zara, this is huge, she said. Names, dates, payments. Vance was running a whole network. Cops, politicians, even a judge. It's all here. Zara's chest tightened. Can you get it to Marcus? Already on it, Nia said, sending an encrypted copy to Marcus Hale. He'll know who to trust at the DA's office. But as they worked, a loud crash came from the street below. Zara ran to the window, her dogs growling at her side. A black SUV idled in the alley, its headlights off. Someone was still watching. They're not giving up, Zara said, her voice low. Vance has friends and they know we have the file. Nia looked up, her face pale. What now? Zara's eyes hardened. We take this public. No more hiding. The black SUV's engine rumbled in the alley below Nia's loft, its dark shape a silent threat in the moonlight. Zara stood by the window, her hand resting on Titan's head, Shadow's ears twitching at her side. Her heart pounded, but her resolve was iron. The Kabul protocol file was their weapon, and it was time to use it. Nia, you sent the file to Marcus? Zara asked, her voice steady. Done, Nia said, her fingers still tapping her keyboard. He's got it, and he's meeting a contact at the DA's office now. But Zara, that SUV, it's not random. Vance's network knows we're onto them. Zara nodded, her eyes scanning the alley. Then we move fast. We go public before they can stop us. She turned to Nia. Can you leak the file to the press? Nia grinned, her eyes gleaming. Already on it. I've got a friend at the Crestwood Gazette, Lena Carter. She's fearless. I'm sending her an encrypted copy now. A loud bang echoed from the street. A trash can knocked over. Titan growled, and Shadow's hackles rose. Zara grabbed her knife and motioned for Nia to stay low. Stay here, she whispered. Keep the dogs with you. She slipped downstairs, her boots silent on the steps, her senses sharp from years of training. In the alley, she spotted two figures near the SUV, hooded, moving fast. One held a crowbar, the other a gun. Zara crouched behind a dumpster, her breath shallow. They were Vance's men, no doubt sent to silence her. But Zara Coleman didn't go down easy. As one thug approached, Zara sprang forward, her knife flashing. She disarmed him in a blur, pinning him to the ground. Who sent you? She hissed. The man sneered, his face bruised. You're done, Coleman. You can't stop us. The second thug raised his gun, but a shout cut through the night. Drop it! It was Marcus Hale, his badge gleaming, his own gun drawn. Behind him stood Sam Torres, his expression hard. The thug hesitated, then dropped his weapon, raising his hands. Zara zip-tied the first man, her heart racing, but her hands steady. Thanks for the backup, she said to Marcus, standing. Marcus nodded. Lena's got the file. It's hitting the Gazette's website tonight. Vance's network is exposed. Names, payoffs, everything. Zara exhaled, relief mixing with tension. What about Vance and Kessler? In custody, Marcus said. I made sure of it. But this isn't over. Vance's allies are powerful. They'll fight back. Zara's eyes hardened. Let them try. By dawn, the story broke. The Crestwood Gazette's headline screamed, Corrupt Cops Exposed. Ex-CIA Agents Crime Ring Uncovered. Lena's article detailed Vance's extortion racket, his Kabul betrayal, and the police department's cover-up, backed by the leaked file. The town erupted, protests outside the precinct, calls for reform, and news vans clogging Main Street. Zara watched it unfold from Rosie's diner, Titan and Shadow at her feet. Rosie slid a coffee across the counter, her face proud. "You did good, Zara. This town owes you." "I just wanted the truth," Zara said, sipping the coffee. Her phone buzzed. A text from Naya. Vance confessed. Plea deal. He's going down. Days later, Zara stood in the precinct's lobby as Marcus handed her a file. "Official apology from the department," he said. "And they're cleaning house. New chief, new rules. You started this, Zara." She shook her head. "We started it. You, Nia, Sam, even Lena. It took all of us." Marcus smiled, a rare warmth in his eyes. "What's next for you?" Zara glanced at her dogs, their tails wagging. "Something quieter. I'm thinking therapy dogs for veterans. Titan and Shadow have a lot to teach." Weeks later, Zara stood in a grassy field outside Crestwood, training a young German shepherd named Hope. Veterans from a local support group watched, their faces softening as the dogs worked. Zara felt a peace she hadn't known in years. The town was healing. Slowly but surely, new oversight boards were formed, and honest cops like Marcus were stepping up. As the sun set, Zara knelt beside Hope, stroking her fur. Titan and Shadow lay nearby, their eyes calm but watchful. The ghosts of Kabul were fading, replaced by something new. Purpose, redemption, a chance to rebuild. Zara looked at the horizon, her heart steady. She'd faced the darkness and won. Now, it was time to live. And that's the end of the story. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support and small effort motivated us to create the next video. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. We'll definitely read and reply to your comments. See you soon in the next video. Until then, take care of yourself and your family. Bye-bye.